Marvel has a new series. It's called What If, and it doesn't work. Let's talk about it. So essentially, What If is an animated TV show that explores what the Marvel Universe would be like if things were switched around, if characters were different, if storylines were played with. The episodes dive into concepts like, what if Captain Carter were the first Avenger? Or what if Thor were an only child? And it sounds really cool in theory. Like, I was actually excited when I saw it to watch it. I was like, this looks like it's gonna be good. Because throughout the past year, Marvel has established a pretty good track record of TV shows that I thought wouldn't be great, but are actually amazing. So I decided to give it a shot. That was my first mistake. Episode 1 proposes a world in which Steve Rogers didn't become Captain America, Peggy Carter did. So I was like, hey, I'm a feminist. I love Marvel. I love Captain America. I love Peggy Carter. Like, I'm the target audience. What could go wrong? So much can go wrong. It hit me pretty fast that something was off. Something in the story was wrong. It wasn't clicking. It almost felt gross. And at first, I didn't know why. And then I realized there is no theme. There's no theme. It's nowhere to be found. And just that one little missing element was enough to tear down the whole story for me. Because the second we lose the theme, can you guess what I'm gonna say? The second we lose the theme, we lose the character. The reason Captain America's story is so amazing and like moving is because it matters to him. We meet Steve Rogers as this scrawny kid who's been beat up and bullied his whole life because he's not physically strong, and all he wants in the world is to be in the US Army. But why does he want that? 2 reasons. First, he wants to serve others. He wants to be good. This is a hugely intrinsic and selfless motivation, and it actually becomes his greatest strength throughout the story. It's literally the reason he's chosen for the experiment. He doesn't just want to do it to prove himself. He wants to do it because deep down, he's a truly kind, courageous person. Which brings us to reason 2. He doesn't see himself that way. He doesn't feel strong. Steve suffers from this intense and almost debilitating sense of inferiority and worthlessness. And he believes that if he could just get into the army, he won't feel that way anymore. For the first time in his life, he would finally feel strong and capable. But even when he finally gets into the army, he doesn't feel different. Surprise. As he struggles to keep up with the training, Steve falls behind other soldiers, and they give him hell for it. It's the same story repeating in a new place. His entire life is following him into the army. But then, his courage and selflessness get him selected for Project Rebirth. And when this happens, Steve sees this as his new savior. He thinks that if he can become physically powerful and have the external validation that comes with that, that he will finally feel strong and confident internally. He feels like he needs that external validation from people, and the only way to get it is by being physically strong. But after Project Rebirth, Steve quickly becomes the new spokesperson for the army. He's a show pony. He starts performing for the army's ad campaigns. And pretty much overnight, the country falls in love with him. He's met at every show with a gaggle of clamoring women and a whole audience of screaming fans. But even once he has all of this external validation, he still doesn't feel better. He's still unsatisfied with himself and his life. There's still some piece missing. He wants to serve in the army. As we follow him further into the story, as we start to see him grow into this soldier and fight and protect people he cares about and save people he cares about, we slowly start to learn his theme, which is that strength isn't earned and it's not external, it's inherent. He learns that he has been strong this entire time. Peggy Carter doesn't feel this way. She's a completely different character. She's so much more confident and self-assured than Steve is. Like, so much more. And she doesn't need external validation from anyone. In fact, that's part of what she teaches Steve throughout the B story, that strength doesn't always look the same. Sometimes, strength looks like a confident and classy badass woman instead of a super soldier with enhanced DNA. So when we try to shift Steve's emotional character arc onto Peggy and make it apply to her, it just doesn't work. The theme of Captain America, the First Avenger, the theme of this movie is not Peggy's lesson to learn. And so when we force it onto her, we lose all of the connection that we had to her as a character. And we lose our connection to who Steve is as a character. It becomes so emotionally dissatisfying because nothing that happens matters. Peggy, an already strong, powerful, and confident woman, goes on being strong, powerful, and confident. And Steve, who starts out fragile, weak, and insecure, continues to be fragile, weak, and insecure. It's the same with every other episode. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? I don't know. He'd be dead? His hands are what he cares about. He's a neurosurgeon. The story only happens because he loses his hands. If he never loses his hands, he never goes to meet that woman, and he never learns how to become Doctor Strange, because the only reason he went there was to fix his hands. So if he doesn't lose his hands, if he stays alive without a heart as a neurosurgeon, he's fine. The point is that he needed his hands back to do what he loved, so he had to go fix them, and that's where the whole story happens. What if Ultron won? I don't care. What if T'Challa became a Star-Lord? That wouldn't make any sense, but I guess he would be Star-Lord. What if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark? I'm sorry. What? You are proposing an episode where Tony Stark, Iron Man, gets rescued before he can do any of the emotional work to become Iron Man. And you want me to enjoy it? The disrespect. Iron Man is my favorite character out there ever, because he starts out terrible and we learn to love him. We start to see how truly compassionate and thoughtful and selfless he is, but he starts out the opposite. And it's so good because the theme is there. He is the one who saves the world later because he learns not to be a selfish asshole. Ugh, I can't handle it. Here's the thing. Theme is the lifeblood of your story. If you have a good theme, that is the string you can start with, and you can pull on it and unravel the rest of the book. And all of the events are gonna just appear in front of you, and they're gonna make sense, and they're gonna matter because they're all starting with and coming from the theme. That's why I love the story circle so much. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. The story circle is amazing. The theme is just built right in. It's incredible. That's why every single story that the story circle creates is gonna be amazing. The reason theme is so important is because it's the one big lesson that the protagonist has to learn in order to succeed, which usually means in order to change their life. For your protagonist to undergo this massive transformation, they have to learn something, and it comes from the theme. We meet the protagonist when they are missing something, when they feel unfulfilled, dissatisfied, insecure, hopeless, whatever it is. And they have identified something that they think is going to solve this problem for them and make them feel better forever. And the theme is what we use to teach this character, hey, this is a want. It's not going to pan out the way you think it is. Here's your need. Go get that one. That's what theme is. It's the way we teach the character what they're actually trying to do. Like, Steve wants to feel strong internally. He wants to feel confident in himself. And he can't, even after the super soldier experiment, because he hasn't learned yet that strength is inherent and that he's always had a strength that no one can take from him. When we don't have a theme, usually we don't know what the character wants or needs. And if we do, which is the case with What If, then we just see the character missing out or falling short of what they want. It's depressing, honestly. It was sad for me to watch Steve Rogers sit by and watch as Peggy, who had pretty much nothing to gain from this experiment besides strength, got everything that he had ever dreamed of in his life. Also, I will say there's kind of this half-baked attempt at a theme in the form of Peggy saying that she's always been talked down to or ignored because she's a woman, and now that she's a super soldier, that doesn't happen anymore. Fine, good, whatever. First of all, women shouldn't have to be a super soldier to be respected. Disney, let's clean that up. Second of all, she doesn't mention that until after the halfway point, after she's already a super soldier. So that is not her motivation for doing it. Her main motivation was just to do it. Literally, she was there in the room, and so she nominated herself. She became an aggressively passive character, and so did everyone else. So the lesson to learn from What If you want to make a big change in your story, ask a different question. Don't just say, what if these two characters switch places? Or what if the plot changed? If that's all you're asking, you're probably gonna end up with a really unfulfilling, unsatisfying 2D story. So instead, ask yourself, if this were to change, how would it affect the characters at their core? Am I changing this because it's exciting, it's a shiny new object, or because it matters? Why should this character be the one going through this specific event or plot point? Would it be the same if it was just any other character? If you want Peggy to be Captain America, show me how mocked and belittled she feels as a woman in the military before the experiment. And show me the grief and the loss that Steve goes through when that opportunity, the thing that he hinged his entire life and identity and success on, slips through his fingers like sand. Show me the parts where they're breaking down, where they're conflicted, where they're mad at each other for what the other has taken from them, where Peggy is mad at Steve because he's a man and gets more respect than she does as a woman, even being weak. Show me him being angry at her for taking everything he's ever dreamed of. Show me real characters with a theme that matters. That's what If failed to do. That's literally just the only one little thing that they failed to do, is to make the theme matter. And I think you can do it better. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. Happy trails.